Hey friends, welcome to our second ever streamer build. Everybody seemed to really love the one that we did for Shroud. In fact, it's our second most popular video ever, and it hasn't even been out for a month. So everybody in the audience seemed to really dig that one. So today we have, as you can probably guess by the title of this video, Tfue's streaming build. But before we get into all of that, let me tell you about today's video sponsor. You know, a PC like this costs a lot of money, which is why we reached out to Ting to sponsor this video. My friends, in case you want to be a big streamer, or in case you just want to buy a PC, you're going to want to call somebody and let them know, and that's where Ting comes in to help you, because they are the mobile phone carrier in the States that does things differently. You pay for what you use. You're not paying for this plan where you're getting a whole bunch of stuff that you're never going to use. The minutes that you never talk on the phone when you're always at Wi-Fi because you're a gamer. You don't go outside because you're a gamer. You're always at your computer playing the video games. Why do you need data? You're on Wi-Fi. And with Ting, you're going to pay for the data that you use. And not only that, you can calculate what you're going to pay based on your estimated monthly usage. And the average Ting bill is only $23 a month. In fact, back when my wife and I were still living in the United States, we switched to Ting to save money for our move to South Africa, and we averaged $48 between the two of us. And that's not bad considering that we're actually pretty heavy phone users. So we actually appreciate Ting. We used them well before they became a sponsor of this channel, and we cannot recommend them enough. So if you're interested, check out Ting at ufd.ting.com and get $25 off either your first bill or $25 into a store credit for the Ting store to pick up a phone. But if in case you don't want to buy a phone from them, you could just bring the phone you have, because they're open for you to come over to their network. So bring your phone, buy a phone, whatever you want to do, $25 off if you use ufd.ting.com at the link in the video description. And big thanks to them for making sure that we have money to even be able to buy computer parts to do videos like these. So there's a few things that I want to talk about before we get into the parts. First up, as many people commented in the Shroud video, is that's not the PC he has in his Twitch description. And that's completely correct, because they never freaking update those things. From what I can gather from all the streamers I looked at, they updated those years ago and then don't update them when they actually get new parts. So let's take Tfue, for example, in this very specific instance. It is proven, based on a video that he released in December of 2018, that he got a brand new gaming PC from Digital Storm. That thing is a beastly setup with an 18-core processor, the 7980XC. It has an insane Asus motherboard, 32 gigs of RAM, and two 1080 Ti's. But when you go to Tfue's Twitch page, what does it say he has there? Well, my friends, it says for his gaming PC, he's rocking a 7700K with a single 1080 Ti, 16 gigs of RAM, and then it's on a Maximus 9 motherboard.
Why you lying? Why you always lying?
Those are all generations old. And it's the same thing with his streaming PC. It says it's on a Ryzen 7 1700 with a GTX 970, and then a few other things about it that seem to be a little out of date. So we can't just take what the streamers put on their page and say that's their gaming build or that's their streaming build, because they never actually update them. So we do the best we can with the resources that we have from both watching their streams, watching their YouTube videos, checking out clips, finding websites where people, through the bits and pieces that are revealed, try to compile what the actual list of the gaming PC or streaming PC of the streamer is. So this is what we have assembled for Tfue's streaming PC. Now I will note that, wait, what was I gonna note? I will note that we are not doing his gaming PC because he did a video on it and it has 18 million views and fully covered that. Completely sponsored by Digital Storm, not something that we're completely able to replicate right now. So we went with the one that we are able to replicate, which is the streaming build. So The way we know what he specifically has is from that video with 18 million views. He actually showed the streaming PC as well as a little page that showed the specs. And it wasn't immediately clear what all of the components were, so we had to just kind of figure some of it out ourselves. So the things that were pretty obvious based on a program that he showed on his computer is that it has a Core i9 processor. It's on the Asus Prime Z370-P motherboard, and it has a GTX 1060, a 250 gig SATA SSD from ADATA, and a 2 terabyte hard drive from Toshiba. Those are the specifics that we have. Now, it's a little weird because when we look at the image that he shows there, there is no Core i9 Kaby Lake that matches with a Z370 motherboard. So it has to be the Coffee Lake refresh trip, the 9900K, because that's the only one that works. And the clock speeds match up. The 9900K has a base clock of 3.6 gigahertz. His page shows 3.6 gigahertz. The 9900K is the only i9 CPU that would fit with the motherboard that's specified. And while I will detail my problems with this motherboard when we actually build this PC, this is what pisses me off about Asus Prime boards. Like, personally, I do not trust this board for the 9900K. It's bullcrap. This is the motherboard, the Z370-P Prime motherboard from Asus. It's a pretty plain board, not really great for a 9900K. Highly wouldn't recommend this. I would never recommend getting a Prime board with the best processor you can get on the market. Doesn't make any sense. Like, I'd get one of their Maximus boards. Anyways, so that's the motherboard that we have. And then we also know that he has a GTX 1060 6 gig, but we don't know what edition it is from that little page that we see right there. So let's go ahead and fast forward or rewind in the video to see the rest of the components. So we can see his PC sitting on the floor. It's clearly this Corsair Crystal 460X RGB case. He has the 3 RGB fans up front, but then we can see that he actually has a single exhaust fan as well, which based on the looks happens to be this Master Fan Pro 120. So we're gonna put this at the back of the case. So we have 4 fans in total. He has the front fans set to blue, but then he also has a Corsair Lighting Node Pro set up so that his case is actually illuminated in the interior with RGB stuff. So outside of that, we had to take a guess at some other things, like the CPU cooler that he's using. Based on the copper heat pipes that we can see on the cooler and the shape of the fan that's on the CPU cooler, my complete and 100% best guess is that he's rocking a Cooler Master Hyper 212X. I could be slightly off on this. I can guarantee it's a Cooler Master CPU cooler because that's their design 100%. Whether it's the 212X or it's some other variation of something that Cooler Master has, it's up for discussion at this point, but that's the one that we went with because it's one of the most readily available CPU coolers that you can get on the market. Then when it comes to RAM, what's clear is that it's a specially branded Digital Storm RAM, but we know that it's 16 gigabytes. So we decided, since we can't buy RAM from Digital Storm, what we're gonna do is we're gonna try to honor the aesthetic and the idea of it. So we picked up this G.Skill Ripjaws 5 2x8 gigabyte kit, but it's completely black. It has a little bit of like red G.Skill branding, but it's not an RGB set of RAM. It just is a flat black aesthetic that we're going for the rest of the build. Then there's the discussion of the power supply that could come into this. Obviously, we can't see it since the Corsair Crystal 460X has a power supply shroud, and there's no indication of what wattage it is. We just had to take a stab in the dark. So what we did, thankfully, was we had a sponsor for this build, and that was Wootware. They hooked us up with every single part that we have here, and Superflower is one of the best brands that's on the market. Wootware sent this over to us. We asked them to send a 750 watt power supply. Happens to be 80 plus platinum, which means it's super efficient. We went with 750 watts because 1, the 9900K is gonna take a butt ton of power, but then 2, if Tfue ever decides to upgrade, 750 watts makes sense as far as like what he could put into the system, but then also it does give him some power efficiency curve where the power draw of the 9900K and the GTX 1060 should be in a sweet spot for the efficiency of the 80 plus platinum power supply. So now we had to guess as to what graphics card he is using. So we know from the image on the computer that it's an MSI 1066 gig, but which one is it? Well, if we look at it, it's clearly not the Gaming X because there's no backplate. And my first impression was that's the Armor Edition. But then when you look at it real close, you can see that there's little like grooves and indents on the side of the graphics card, which means that it's actually this GTX GTOC from MSI, not their Gaming X or their more popular Armor cards. So this is what we picked up for that, the GTOC MSI card. And then we went with an ADATA 256 gig SU800 M.2 SATA SSD. It's roughly the same price as the 2.5-inch drive that he's likely using in this, but it's going to use less space, make cable management a bit better, but you could either get this or you could get the actual 2.5-inch drive. This just made more sense as far as like functionality for us. And then also, as you can see in the image, his graphics card is propped up by a GPU bracket. So we actually have one lying around that we picked up from Amazon. It's like $10. So we're gonna install that as well to hold up the 1060 like Tfue has in his build. So in case you can't tell, this is a different day. Everything's different, but we made the executive decision because the build took so long, and that's gonna be a fully dedicated video in and of itself. We're gonna cut this one short. The parts explanation went on long enough as it is, and this is Tfue's streaming PC. Let us know what you're expecting to see. We will make sure to do a video of the actual build and then a final video where we benchmark the performance and all of that. The issue is that when you put them all together, it just becomes one massive 30-minute long video, and yeah, that's not necessarily where we want to go. But don't forget that this video is brought to you by Ting. Big thanks to them for making sure that we can afford a PC like this, because it's not something that I buy all day, every day. Anyways, in case you want to go to the mobile phone carrier that does things differently and just makes sense, ufd.ting.com to get $25 off your first bill, or $25 off a phone when you buy it on the Ting store. Anyways, guys, get excited for the Tfue build. It is coming up. Be sure to get subscribed in case you're interested in more of these streamer builds. Of course, as always, we're interested in your recommendations and your suggestions. Did he change his streaming build and we just don't know it? Has he revealed more specs that we're not aware of? Let us know down in the comments down below, and be sure to let us know which streamer you want us to check out next. Hit the like button on this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. I'm Brett with the UFD Tech Channel. Love you too. Bye. No, don't follow me, Reece. I'm going to hide behind the bad motherboard. This thing sucks. I hate it.